And the first point is just basically to get involved in the action. I think too often enough it's common for one-man bands to just sit on the sidelines and say, well, I don't have a photographer. I'm just going to sit on the side of the action, like my story, on the side of the highway, and just film cars going by and just walk into the scene and not really be involved. And I think that it takes little effort to just notice your surroundings and get involved. And about a week ago, I did a story about potholes in Yakima, and I put the camera on the ground. I set it on the ground. It was kind of a bumpy street, and even something like that, you just put the camera on the ground. They see the surface, and you go about 10 feet back, so you're kneeling down on the ground, and it's those little things that really make a difference and make it more compelling for the viewer to see. It doesn't take a lot. Just involve them in the action, involve them where things are happening, because that's the point of a stand-up, is to take viewers at home where the anchors can't take you.
Let's see if there are any questions out there on point number one or your on-camera storytelling. Let me pause here and listen if there are any questions.
David, it's Ariel over at KSBY at a Canvas Expo. I got to ask you, do you ever have trouble coming up with just the way to, when you're talking out your stand-up, do you write anything down, or do you just kind of talk off the top of your head until something sounds right? So I know I've done it a couple different ways. I'm just curious how you do it.
Sometimes I write something down. I think I used to write down stuff a lot more, but I think it comes across as more genuine when you just think of something off the top of your head. I'll write down like a bullet point, obviously something that I want to mention in the story that I think is important, but I think oftentimes it's more, you just go with what's on your mind, and it makes it more spontaneous and makes it a lot more conversational for people at home to see.
And this is David Clue,
yeah.
Assistant News Director here in Yakima. Ryan is the one in the picture there. My name is up there because I'm the one who logged in, but one of the things that I try and teach the reporters, all of the reporters here, is to try to avoid memorizing a stand-up. To them and to me, the best stand-ups are those stand-ups that can, first of all, fill a void that would be difficult to fill with video, but that's important information in the story. And secondly, it's the opportunity for the reporter to shine. It's the only time. We don't do a lot of live work here for the sake of live, and so it's the only opportunity for my reporters to show the viewers who they are, to put a face to the voice, a face to the writing, a face to the shooting. And so I think the more spontaneous they are, the better these stand-ups are. This particular story was a prime example of that. If Ryan had tried to memorize this, what took him 4 takes would have taken him 10.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah. And this one was all ad-libbed. I mean, there's not really. This was an example where you can't really script it out. You just have to go around with what you're seeing and just speak off the top of your head, because otherwise I think it would have felt forced and fake, and it wouldn't have come across as genuine to the viewer at home.
That's a very good point. Any other questions? Chris Houston, if you could hear and speak, feel free to contribute. I know you've been working with your folks on this.
Yeah, I'm just on the telephone here, but watching it because I don't have that high-tech computer you guys all do. I was just curious for the number of takes that you were describing. So how long did it actually take to get it shot?
It took about 10 minutes. I knew what I was going to say, and I knew how to visualize it. It was just that the camera kept on falling down. So I had to
have that.
and set it up again. But it only took about 10 minutes, and it ended up being worth it. Sometimes it's worth it to see the end result. So it didn't take that long.
Well, it's very creative work. When I looked at it, I thought, wow, that's good stuff.
Chris, as a news director, do you have a person that just does this naturally, or is there a technique that you teach? I know you've got 30 years of experience in news management. Anything that has worked in your teaching these approaches to your MMJs?
The longer I'm at this, the more I realize that any hard and fast rules that I teach them are going to be kind of tossed out the window. I don't think I've ever taught somebody to prop up a camera in the back seat with camera batteries and shoot a stand-up. I mean, you talk to them about interacting somehow with the environment as opposed to pretending you're part of it, which is a big problem. But taking the viewer in and showing them things instead of, like I said, putting on the firefighter's uniform and standing there with a hose and then just delivering a stand-up as if you were, in fact, a firefighter for a moment, which nobody buys, I think, as a viewer. But beyond that, it's just the creativity of the individual. Like I said, I've never taught anybody to do what we saw in this stand-up here, nor would I think I'd be able to. You just expose people to good work and then let them turn on their own creative juices and go to work on it, and the result's going to be better than anything I could teach anyway.
Fantastic.
Hey, quickly, sorry, Ryan, my name's Dan Boyce. I live in Bozeman, Montana.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. So, question for you, and please be honest. So, as in our MMJ thing, I think the biggest problem I run into with stand-ups is that they're always static. And then I have such a problem with having these static stand-up shots. So what is your guys' policy? How do you guys view taking a bystander through a quick tutorial about how to pan and zoom to be able to do some sort of stand-up that has a little bit higher production quality than just a static shot?
I think it's tough because, I mean, you're the only one there, and so, I mean, you don't have anybody to do those things. What I try to do generally is to shoot at different angles, even like a different angle, like the camera shooting up at you, or just a different way of looking at it rather than just it's straight on right here. I'm talking forward. Just even looking up at you, down at you. I think different angles work out a lot. Also, I find that depending on the story, you walking into the scene works sometimes because at least you're not just standing there.